In Composer, there are two main ways to go online with a DSP: push and pull. Both have their own unique qualities that may translate to pros and cons, depending on what needs to be accomplished. Upon clicking the button for Go Online, Save and Push Site File to Hardware, Composer presents the Site Preferences dialog. Let's take a look at the options available. In the Push Online settings, Configure Network Audio tells Composer that it will be handling all of the Dante subscriptions, naming, and routing. If this is checked, Dante Controller can still be used for a diagnostic tool, but no subscription crosspoints will need to be manually created. An important note about Configure Network Audio: all Dante devices that should be communicating with the Symmetrix DSPs should be included in the site file, located, and routed via the applicable transmit and receive buses. Any Dante devices not included in Composer will still need to be manually connected in Dante Controller. If any adjustments to Dante are made in Controller after Composer has pushed, the two software do not communicate this with each other, and the next time the site file is pushed, some routing may be affected. Network Audio Options offers the chance to set a few Dante options from Composer, including network latency, AES67 multicast addressing, and Dante port configuration. Delay compensation will time align the outputs on each individual unit included in the site file. Password protection allows you to password protect the site file. When password protected, the designated password will be required to open the site file. This password does not protect the DSP itself from being communicated with. Site version information opens the site version information dialog, providing a text entry field for a site description. It also shows the date in which the hardware was last pushed, the number of times the site has been pushed, and a hardware push ID. Add Notes, as it sounds, gives the option Add Notes to a site file for reference. In the Multiple Site Systems area, the site identifier can be useful for locations or installations that have multiple DSPs that may exist on the same network, but aren't meant to be related to each other. For example, a convention center that has dozens of DSPs all around the building, all on the same greater network. Conference rooms can have their own separate site ID, as well as the main lobby, the exhibit hall, food court, and so on. Breaking the installation into multiple site IDs can help prevent control numbers from overlapping and causing control issues between areas. The power on restoration defines what the unit or units should do when power cycled, either intentionally or not. Restore pushed network audio configuration will cause all network audio interfaces in the site file to be reprogrammed on a power cycle, just like Configure Network Audio. Restore pushed parameter values will recall all system parameters and their position upon push. For example, if the system was pushed with all of these gain faders at 0, but later they were adjusted by staff, if the system was to reboot, the faders would be recalled to 0 dB. Recall preset does what it might seem like it should. This option recalls a given preset upon power cycle. This can be helpful to set a default state for the system in case of an unintentional power cycle or a panic safety. The data in the preset will overwrite any conflicting last known parameters. If none of these options are checked, the system will restore back to its last known operating state as noted here. Power on volume ramp up sets the amount of time, 0 to 20 seconds, that the volume should gradually ramp up upon system power boot. Enable system string pushing, as stated, allows telephony information to be broadcast out remote control ports if any telephony cards are present. This is required for correct PD1 telco dialer operation. Turning around and performing a pull online includes a couple different paths. One way is to start with no blank site file open at all, opening the System Manager from the Hardware tab, finding the unit you'd like to pull from and selecting Go Online, Pull from Unit. As you can see here, this can sometimes be a confusing task when there are multiple units on the network. Another, possibly more direct way is to drag at least one of the archive units into a brand new site file, locate the unit, and click the Go Online Pull Site File from Hardware. Upon clicking the Go Online button, Composer presents the Pull Site File wizard. This first step allows the option to choose where to save the site file to be pulled. Composer will then prompt a couple more questions regarding the unit that it's going to attempt to pull from, and then whether or not a file with this name is already saved in the location chosen to save to. Make selections accordingly. This synchronization step is an important part of the pulling process. Choosing to synchronize to all changes will pull the current file that is actively running on the DSP, or the last known state, including all parameter positions. Choosing to abandon changes will simply pull the site feed that was last pushed to the DSP's archive and will disregard any possible level, mute, or other adjustments someone may have made since the last push. Make the appropriate selection and click Next for an additional dialog that helps explain what was performed, or simply click Finish. Composer will then attempt to go online, running processes that include checking to see if any other devices on the network have been programmed to have the same site ID. In this tech tip video, I will select OK, but you should consider this question carefully. Once online, Composer is connected live and able to make adjustments to module parameters.